Hey there, it's One Boom, and today you're watching a video about recoil, view kick, and everything in between. The purpose of this video is to better equip you with terms and understanding with how your guns work and how your bullets work in almost every first-person shooter. Yes, these are pretty much universal facts. There's a couple of outliers, but this video would be an hour long if I went over every different outlier, so I'm not going to waste your time here. I hope you guys enjoy. Let's start out with view kick with different sights. If that's not the first part, this is going to be really embarrassing. Enjoy the video. The type of sight you use on your weapon heavily influences view kick. And the reason there is a red dot meta in most first-person shooters where everybody is running a 1x red dot sight, something clear, something like the coyote sight, the cobra sight, just the red dot. Why is that the most used sight? Well, that's because iron sights are two different objects that have to work together and be consistent, and they really do add a lot of view kick. You're looking, usually with an iron sight, you're looking through a hole or a gap and then a blade. Okay, so that's basically how most iron sights work. You have a blade and a hole, you look through the hole and you see the blade, so that's two different objects that are bobbing around, and in certain games independently. But then when you move on to a red dot, you have that same level of zoom with a clearer sight apparatus, and only one thing is bobbing around. Not the rear and the front sight bobbing around together, you have one thing bobbing up and down. So view kick feels decreased because you don't have two things bobbing, you have one thing bobbing. But why don't people use scopes? I always hated the fact that nobody uses scopes in first-person shooters, and I just hate how useless they are. The reason they're useless or not used as much is because a scope adds the most amount of view kick. It's skewing with your character's perception. You have a scope that's bigger and it's in your face, it's moving up and down with the recoil, and then it's magnifying everything. And anybody who's held binoculars, a rifle scope, a telescope, and moved around with it knows that it takes very little movement on your end to adjust what you're seeing on the other end of the telescope, or scope, you get it. And that's the same case in first-person shooters. It's not as exaggerated as in real life, but it's still there. When you are zooming in on an object, and then you're using a weapon that's bobbing up and down, moving left to right, you have a lot going on there, and yeah, it makes it harder to acquire targets. In summary, people use red dots all the time because it's the zoom of an iron sight with only one thing bobbing around, no skewed perception, and a wider sight view. That's all it is. If you are wondering how important is view kick, well, a while back I tweeted a developer that worked at Infinity Ward at the time of Call of Duty Ghosts, and I said, look man, the AK-12 is a great assault rifle, but it overshadows rifles that are similar to it. The rifle that was similar to it at the time was the Remington R5. And I said the AK-12 is basically just a better Remington R5. It's got pretty much a lot of the same stats, and it's got more bullets and a faster fire rate. So maybe just make it harder to handle by increasing view kick. I said something to that effect in 140 characters. I'm not going to say that they actually took my idea because they never responded to me, but the next patch, the AK-12 got a boost to visual recoil. Visual kick, view kick, and the AK-12 was no longer the king of assault rifles. It then had to bow down before the Remington R5 when it came to intuitive design. And that is how important view kick is. Just by changing view kick, just by making the rear and fore sights bounce around a little bit more, make the gun vibrate a little bit more, it made it that more unintuitive, and that was enough to make it no longer the OP god weapon of Call of Duty Ghosts. And next you can see here that the SC-2010, one of the most accurate guns in Call of Duty Ghosts, and Call of Duty Ghosts is known for having overly accurate guns, you can see even though it doesn't kick that much, the view kick is very heavy and the spread is very heavy, even though it's not pulling up very much at all, and I'm not even trying to control the recoil. And in the case of the SC-2010, the red dot sight still is shaking an awful lot while I'm firing it, and the bullets are still making the same hole, but it's much more clear. Again, view kick is very important. If this gun had less view kick, if it started going down, it'd go the way of the ACR from Modern Warfare 2. It would just be a laser beam, a high DPS laser beam. So they made it kick, they made it bob, so it wasn't this consistent melt machine. What is coning? Coning is an old term usually used by older Battlefield players like 1942, Vietnam, Battlefield 2, 2142. Those games heavily relied on coning understanding. Here's a really simple thing I put together to demonstrate what coning is. Coning is basically the further away you are from the target, the more your bullets will spread. And you just probably clicked off the video. You're about to click off. You're like, no fucking shit. The further away I am, the less accurate I'm going to be. The important thing to understand here is that in that cone, within this cone, changes can be made. So sometimes when a gun needs a buff or a nerf or something along those lines, it doesn't need a straight recoil reduction or straight kick reduction. Sometimes that cone just needs to be tightened up a little bit so that after a certain range, the bullets aren't completely useless. You can see it in the Advanced Warfare gameplay here. The further you get, the further it spreads, and some guns need to spread more and some guns need to spread less depending on how far away you are. If you want a gun to be very versatile, it will have very little spread but very little damage. See what I mean? So if you want to do something, go on Twitter and you want to complain about a gun to a developer, you could say, what is the cone situation on, for instance, the M4 in Infinite Warfare? What is that cone situation like? Could you maybe tighten that up a little bit so it's not spreading so much at mid-range? It's hard for me to hit targets, and this is way more viable in battlefields. Bullets go everywhere after certain ranges. They are just useless fucking marshmallows that go everywhere as soon as you get to a certain range. And some guns need to have that cone tightened up, and again, some guns need to have that cone widened out so that it doesn't take very long for those bullets to go fucking everywhere. Alright, next is the 3 types of kick. Now I'm simplifying this down a lot because I went over every little thing that each game franchise uses when they like program their guns. We'd be here for like hours and hours and hours. So I'm making this as simple as possible to explain what's going on when your weapon is kicking. Alright guys, you can applaud my Photoshop skills in the comments below, but right now I'm going to explain to you what you're looking at. The blue line represents horizontal recoil and the green line represents vertical. You probably already figured that out. And then you have the red, and that is drift. So when we're talking about accuracy, when you're talking about it with your friends or on Twitter to developers or whatever, you need to be able to understand whether or not there is a problem with vertical recoil, horizontal recoil, or drift. The more specific you are, the better picture you paint with your words, and the clearer your idea comes across. I guess your idea comes across more clear is the correct way to say that, but really though, really pay attention when you're firing a weapon. Let's say in Battlefield 4, you want to know the correct type of attachments to use, and you're firing it, make sure you can tell the difference between left and right, drift, and up and down. These things are key to understanding exactly what your problem is when it comes to recoil in first-person shooters. So everything you just learned when it comes to view kick and how it affects sights, when it comes to the importance of how view kick affects weapons, when it comes to coning, when it comes to recoil and drifting, it's all important to understand that this is accuracy. A gun doesn't just need less recoil. A gun doesn't just need more kick. A gun needs a lot of thought into it. And what I'm saying here is like 1/10 of what developers go through when tweaking this stuff. So understand guys, this is accuracy. Please, I'm not going to summarize this whole video. Just make sure you go back and rewatch it and learn from it. And this can help you as a player dealing with accuracy troubles in online games. When you are talking to developers on Twitter and you're tweeting them, you're doing feedback forms, when you're discussing things with your friends, you want to have this information. If this information doesn't interest you, that's really unfortunate because you just sat through like an 8-minute video on recoil. So that really sucks if that doesn't interest you. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. What you're seeing here is some Halo gameplay, and I kind of wanted to announce I'm going to be doing a Halo series where I try to get better at Halo every week. I play a couple matches every week, and I show you guys some highlights from it, and you guys can watch me slowly improve. Other than that, this is the first type of this video I've ever done. The next video like this, it won't be the next video I upload, but the next video like this I will do is about kill feed and minimap and how you can use those two items to pinpoint enemy locations and get a better understanding of what's going on around you and just survive longer in first-person shooters. It's going to be awesome. I'm going to put a ton of work into it, and because I put a lot of work into this video, I've been on this for hours, doing a lot of editing, a lot of clip getting. I hope you guys are okay that I ran non-skippable ads on this video. I kind of feel bad, but it really means a lot for you guys to watch this. So leave a like if you enjoyed it, share this with your friends, and do me a favor, send this to Drifter and tell him he has a new competition. Yeah, that's right. YouTube ain't big enough for the two of us, Brad. I'll see you when I see you guys. Goodbye!